before we even talk about what they should be eating, I ask them about their daily routines. And I say, if you don't have a nighttime routine, like brushing your teeth, washing your face, preparing for bed, if you don't have that routine, to think that you can just go on a diet and do it perfectly to lose weight is unrealistic.
Definitely.
It is unrealistic. So we are live, Ashley. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Healthy You. I am Kim Martin, host of your show, and I have an amazing guest with me today, Ashley Simper. I am so excited to have you here. I have been looking forward to this show, mainly because I love to learn. I said that on my post advertising this. I really love to learn. If there's things that I don't know or maybe I have the wrong idea about, I always say, once you know better, you can do better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it's about. And so I really feel like I'm going to learn from you today, and you guys are going to really learn. You have like a whole paragraph of experience and education behind your title. So why don't you just help us understand a little bit about Ashley Simper, who you are, and where your qualifications come from and what you do.
Okay, well, I was born and raised here in Peoria. I went to Bradley. I got my undergrad in food, nutrition, and dietetics. And then I actually went on to get a master's degree in exercise physiology because it was important for me to have both components when approaching, patients and teaching. So that was great. I did that at Illinois State. And then I've been working at OSF for the last 11 years. I've been doing one-on-ones with outpatients. So these are patients that have been referred by their doctor for help with their diet, for weight loss, heart health, GI conditions, gastrointestinal conditions like celiac disease, IBS. I also do a lot of media work. I kind of specialize in recipe development, and I demonstrate those on TV every week, so that's really fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you head up the Central
Yes,
Illinois
I am.
Dietetic
Yeah,
world?
I'm the Illinois Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics media spokesperson. So I kind of get out, represent dietitians and the most evidence-based information out there for patients.
So I think you are qualified to teach us a few things today.
And like you mentioned you had the experience of weight loss. I also have lost about 40 pounds.
Oh, wow.
When I started my job, I was a lot heavier, and through, practice what you preach, I have gotten down and maintained for several years. So I feel like I've really been in the shoes of many people and can give, more applicable information.
Advice.
Yes.
It does. I think people like to know that you've experienced what busting some myths for you today. And I know I'm going to be learning some things and maybe having to change a few things based on what I learned from Ashley today. We're going to be talking about eating often. How does that impact, and is that a good thing? Is a calorie a calorie? That's a good one. Here's the one that I think you're going to love. Good carbs or whole grains versus sugar, right? That whole idea of, is a piece of whole grain bread the same as refined sugar or added sugars? Free foods, my favorite word. What's really free? Is there such thing as free foods? We're going to talk about gluten-free diets and ketosis. So those are some of the things that we're going to cover and learn from Ashley today. So be sure to continue watching. And I hope we didn't just, okay, good. No, we didn't lose you. I saw the screen disappear like, oh no, did we lose you? Keep watching. But here's the thing. Share this program with your friends. Encourage your friends to watch and comment. Make sure you ask questions. If there's something that we talk about on the show today that you're unclear of, be sure to ask the questions in the comments, and I'll make sure that we get the answer from Ashley and we post those answers and get back to you. We can't see them right now, but we want you to show us some love. Click the heart, click the like, click the heart, show some love, and post some comments. That's very important. All right, so let's go with the easy one, because when we started talking this morning, I went through this list with you to see where we were as far as both of us agreeing on this, and the one thing that we both agreed on was eating often.
Right.
So what do you have to say about eating often, Ashley?
So what happens when we skip meals or we don't have, planned meals or snacks in between is that we tend to go too long, our blood sugars can drop, and then our blood sugars spike back up when we eat again. And that can cause problems too with overeating. So it's really important to try and develop some kind of a meal pattern where you're eating maybe every 4 hours, so that way you're preventing yourself from overeating at the next meal. I tend to feel a lot more satisfied myself when, I have smaller meals and I know in a couple hours I get to have a snack. So I think it's a really good technique for people. Also, we're burning more calories in digestion, so the more often we eat, we burn a few extra calories that way too. So it kind of serves two purposes.
And because eating helps our metabolism work more efficiently.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yep. And our body likes a routine. So I always say stick with it. Find something that works and stick with it. We don't tend to see people real successful when they're skipping meals. A lot of my patients come in and are only eating twice a day, and that just is not successful for weight loss.
Or you said something that is very important, and as soon as you said it, the word that popped in my head was homeostasis. You said your body likes a regular routine.
Yes,
so if you're going one day trying to be real restricted diet and then the next day you're gorging because you were so strict the day before, you're never going to get the results that you're looking for.
The ups and downs of, your blood sugars are responding to that. Your body likes something normal, some kind of a routine. So
it finds a routine to work as efficient as it possibly can.
Absolutely.
Based on what you do on a regular basis. So whatever you do, it needs to be consistent. That's how your body
Yes. And I want to clarify, there's a difference between smart snacking and grazing. And so, grazing is just no nonsense, mindless eating throughout the day. I see this here. I'm going to grab this from the break room. You're not really paying attention to the types of foods you're putting in your body or, the calorie control part of it. So we do recommend sitting down, thinking about, let me plan a 100 to 200 calorie smart snack that's got fiber and protein in it. And plan those between your meals.
Right, because I say that all the time. Grazing isn't eating.
Right.
If you're grazing all day, that's not what we're talking about.
Those calories add up so quickly.
It's like going shopping and not deducting the money out of
not
your
budgeting
account.
Before you go shopping.
Yeah, you get home and you're like, oh my God, I spent $500. How did that happen? It's the same way in calories, right?
Yes.
All right, so make sure you eat often. So that is a myth. That is true. We both would agree that that's important for many, many reasons. Okay. Is a calorie a calorie? There's so much out there about eat this, not that, da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
So, calories, how we measure food, right? It's the measurement of the food consumption. Mm-hmm. So,
and we've heard, those stories of the people that have gone on the potato diet where they had 1,500 calories in potatoes or 1,200 calories in all potatoes and lost weight, or Snickers bars. So in essence, a calorie is a calorie. However, your makeup of your diet is going to be what's most important. So you can't sustain good, healthy nutrition off of, 1,200 calories of Snicker bars, even though you're losing weight.
You will die of malnutrition.
You're not going to get vitamins and minerals you need, So it's about, the whole picture, not about just one food. Not one food is going to make or break your diet. But we do tend to use an equation that is an evidence-based equation using height, weight, age, and activity level to calculate a general number for people
your BMR,
for weight loss.
Your basal metabolic rate.
And then we usually we multiply that by an activity factor, and then we subtract about 500 calories for people to lose a pound a week. Now, I use that as a general number. It's very trial and error with weight loss. So, here's something to get you started. Let's see how your weight responds. Sometimes we have to change things up in terms of making certain meals higher in protein, lower in carbs. And so as a dietitian, I'm kind of taking a look at the diet as a whole.
Right.
What percentage of calories are you getting from carbohydrates, protein, fat? Do we need to manipulate that? And it's not just the total calories. So.
And it's not just about, let's bust this myth right now. It's not just about being skinny.
No, absolutely not.
You can be thin and be completely unhealthy. So if you're just trying to lose weight, you are on the wrong track. You have to go about this as I'm going to learn what it means to be healthy, to live a healthy lifestyle. Weight loss is the result of the choices of living a healthy lifestyle. It's not what makes you healthy.
Absolutely not. I always say, well, what do their insides look like? You know,
Right.
I mean, they may look great on the outside and not work out and eat whatever they want, but what do their insides look like? And what is their longevity going to be, you know, compared to someone else who's really eating a well-rounded, balanced diet, getting all the food groups and
feeling
key
good
nutrients.
and having energy, and their blood pressure's good, their glucose levels are good, their triglycerides
Exactly.
are good. You know, all of your numbers are good, and that's what we're looking for. We are not looking for some crazy diet just to get thin, because thin is not necessarily healthy. An ideal body weight for you is definitely something that we want to shoot for as a goal, but everybody is going to be a little bit different in that weight.
You're
you cannot say, oh, I got to get down to 130 pounds because this chart says for my height I'm supposed to weigh 130.
And that's why there's a range for those BMIs too. And
Right.
the body mass index, or the BMIs, are based off of height and weight, and it basically puts you in a disease risk state. So if you are over a certain number and you're in the obesity category, that just puts you at a greater risk of developing diseases. So it's a number, but it's really how you feel, what your, you know, your lipid profiles and your blood pressure and your blood glucose, you know, making sure you're getting those checked, and those
Right.
are all still.
What about
within
that
normal
term
limits.
skinny fat? That's true, right?
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
absolutely have a really high body fat and be thin, which puts you in just as great a risk as someone who's overweight.
And I think that people need to come to terms sometimes with the fact that they're not going to reach their ideal weight and still and be satisfied, but they can still be healthy.
Yes.
So it's loving yourself kind of at every size.
Yeah.
You know, you try to teach intuitive eating. So, you know, practicing moderation, but still being healthy, even though you may not be at that ideal weight
Yeah.
that, you know.
And I think you and I both agree. We're both sitting here living proof that you can lose weight and maintain weight and still eat a piece of bread sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Still have a cookie every now and then. But it's like you said, it's about learning that balance to say it's not eating the whole box of cookies.
Yep.
Or the whole dozen donuts or whatever, or the whole bag of chips. We all have our vice.
Still have to have some control.
Sure.
I usually use the 80-20 rule. So I kind of think of weight loss in 90-10. 90% of the time, eat healthy. 10% of the time, allow yourself a few extra things. Making sure you're keeping up with your exercise, of course, that's a whole other component. But once you reach your ideal weight, you can kind of move it more to 80-20.
Yes.
Where 80% of the time, you're able to eat really healthy and practice great balanced eating. But then 20% of the time, you allow yourself more of those treats, and then you're able to maintain your weight with physical activity.
That's right. You can't out-exercise a bad diet,
Right.
but you really can't be healthy without exercise.
Agreed.
It goes hand in hand, but you cannot, trust me, I've trained for marathons and gained weight.
Yes,
You cannot
you hear
go
that a lot.
run and then go eat beer or eat pizza and drink
Right.
beer right after running. And
Overcompensating,
No, it does not work. Okay, so whole grains versus sugar. You know, we live in a culture today where we're throwing all the whole grains under the bus, and now there's all the GMOs, and there's this whole argument out there that our food is not healthy anymore, and it's all this stuff. So what say you, Ashley, on that topic?
Well, I mean, whole grains, I want to just explain this to people. So a whole grain is the actual whole kernel that's not been processed at all. So nothing's been broken down. When you're eating a whole wheat piece of bread, they've basically ground up the whole wheat kernel. And there's fiber and antioxidants and B vitamins and all kinds of great stuff in that, okay?
Okay.
When they do white bread or white pasta, they will strip away parts of the kernel, and then they'll ground that up, and then they'll add vitamins back in, okay? So basically, with a whole grain, you're getting many more components of good health than you would be if you're just getting kind of a refined white product. So what that means is, I always say, if you eat a sandwich on white bread, your blood sugars might spike a little bit quicker than if you eat a whole grain bread sandwich, because the fiber's in that, and that actually lessens the spike of your blood sugars.
Right.
Fiber keeps you feeling full. It helps with digestion. It helps lower our blood cholesterol. So you have so many more benefits to these whole grains than you do these white refined grains. So the recommendations are to make at least half of your grains whole grains every day.
Right.
And there's a huge difference between whole grains, brown rice. Let me list a few of those. So 100% whole wheat bread, brown rice, quinoa, whole grain crackers like Triscuits and Wheat Thins, whole wheat pastas, whole wheat tortillas, popcorn. Those are all great whole grains that we promote. And then you have these sugars. You're talking about sugars, and what does that do? So yeah, they all break down in the body and produce glucose, and that's what we use for energy. But with the added benefit of these vitamins and minerals and fiber in the whole grains, it breaks down a lot slower. It's much better for our diet. So there's a difference between the healthy starches coming from whole grains and then refined sugars coming from bread, and then added sugars is a whole nother.
You would not put a potato in the same category as white rice, would you?
I mean, they're both starchy. However, we would tell somebody to eat the skin on the potato for the fiber and watch what they put on it.
Right.
And then white rice, we'd probably say maybe you could switch to brown rice because you're getting the benefit of that. So, it's all about.
They're both starch, but they're
Right.
not. One is stripped and one is whole.
Exactly. And I think if I had a dollar for every time I had a patient come to me and say their doctor told them to cut out all white foods or to cut out bread or pasta in general, I'd be a millionaire. But it's not about that. It's about controlling those things and choosing the right types.
Right. We were talking before the show started, and I said one of the things that I hear over and over at Curves when someone comes in and I'm sitting down to coach them is, I can't eat bread, I have type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And let's bust that myth. It's not the bread that's giving you type 2 diabetes. It's the fact that you're overweight.
Yes. When you're not at a healthy weight, you're at a greater risk of developing diabetes. And that's really what I call it. Your body has had a lot of wear and tear on it over the years.
Right.
Because you've maybe not made the best choices in your diet. And now you're at an unhealthy weight. Maybe you're not physically active. And so your body responded by developing type 2 diabetes. And now you feel like you have to cut all of these things out. Where down the road, it's really about making the best choices.
It's getting the weight off. If you start exercising and you start eating overall healthy, balance, and you lose the weight, the blood sugars will balance out.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what we've experienced. So whole grains versus sugars, a little bit different.
Yes.
Refined sugars, we know, are not good for us.
We don't want people to eat candy all day or regular soda that has added sugars or a bunch of white bread. It's about balance. So it's okay to have white bread every once in a while, but maybe for dinner then you have brown rice.
Right.
So
you actually probably pay attention to every meal. So
yes,
if
you're supposed to get grains at every meal. That's what, our plate, I don't know if you've heard of the My Plate. It used to be the pyramid. There is a whole quarter of a plate that's a grain. And so ideally it would be a whole grain, but if you're keeping your portions intact, those provide vitamins and minerals. Our brain and nervous system function off of only carbohydrates. We need those.
That's right. We do need those. We need them. And you can lose weight and maintain a healthy weight eating them. And overall, you're going to be healthier.
Absolutely.
Because you need that nutrition that is in the whole grains. Okay, I'm down to my favorite because I have believed for years, based on our dietitian at Curves, that there is a such thing as free foods, foods that you can eat that are negative caloric intake. But the funny thing is, when I posted out on Facebook as a reference looking for a dietitian to join me on this Healthy You show to talk about what constitutes a free food, all of a sudden I had these dietitians saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what a free food is. And I'm like, what? So
let's explain the myth. So it is a myth, and the premise behind a free food is that you basically eat something and it takes more calories in digestion.
Right.
So it offsets the calories you're eating. But there's no scientific evidence behind that.
Okay.
For example, if you eat a stalk of celery, that's 10 calories, you only burn 1 calorie in digestion. Okay. There was a little bit of research that maybe 20 to 40 calories per celery stalk, in a difference of 20 to 40 calories, but are you going to eat that every single meal? Are you going to eat those foods at every single meal in order to offset those calories? 20 calories is not significant in the grand scheme of things for weight loss.
Right.
And I'm probably going to put peanut butter on my celery or a little light cream
and then
cheese.
It's far from
free. Yeah, exactly. So there's really no such thing as a free food. But I do want to clarify, if you're going to eat extra of something to fill you up, these foods that have gotten the free food kind of
like green,
title,
like
spinach or celery, or the non-starchy vegetables,
broccoli,
things like that. Yeah,
cauliflower.
that would be the best thing for you to fill up on, because they're high in water, they're high in fiber, they're going to keep you feeling more satisfied. And the same thing with, I think we both heard that protein foods are now sometimes considered free in some aspects, but I mean, if you're going to continue to eat and eat, you're going to get more calories than you need, regardless if they're on the free list or not. So,
and if you consume more calories, that's energy. More energy than your body requires. What does your body do with those extra calories?
They're going to store it, and then you're going to gain weight.
And you're going to gain weight.
So
you cannot eat a certain amount of calories and then add on top of that. And expect that you are going to be able to lose weight.
Right.
It will not work.
I would not recommend eating a bunch of celery or lettuce as a tool for weight loss unless you're thinking about it in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Well, and the bottom line is anytime you think, oh, I got this perfect diet's going to help me lose weight, that's usually your first mistake.
Right. Fad diets don't work. Any, magic bullet, anything that sounds too good to be true probably is. It's about a lifelong change. It's about balance. It's about moderation. It's about swinging between that 80-20 rule and the 90-10 rule. It's looking at things as a whole. Am I getting good whole grains? Am I getting lean protein?
And having
low-fat
some
dairy?
things that you like sometimes.
And you know what? I have patients come all the time and they're like doing great and they're losing weight. And I look at them and I say, are you enjoying yourself? Are you allowing yourself a little something every now and then? Because if you continue this perfect diet, it's not going to last long.
Right, because how long can you be perfect? It's
hard.
It's really kind of just say to yourself, "Oh, I'm perfect." Doesn't even sound right. Like you're not perfect, and you won't be perfect, and you're not going to be perfect. Now, I'm not saying that there's people that just don't eat sugar, processed sugar. I get it. That's okay. I mean, and it's good because we just said processed sugar is
More
not
power to you,
good
but
for you, but
that
that's
wouldn't be,
not the average person.
It wouldn't be for me. It may not be for you. I want to, have a cookie or a piece of birthday cake on my birthday.
Yeah.
That's what life's all about. So,
well, speaking of sugar, let's talk about the gluten-free diets, and people are taking all of that wheat out, going gluten-free. So you specialize in this.
Right. So I specialize in celiac disease and gluten sensitivity, which is a health condition where people have to cut gluten out because they have adverse reactions in their body. So celiac disease is an autoimmune disease. Your body attacks itself, specifically in the lining of the small intestine when they ingest gluten. Gluten sensitivity, you don't have that damage done to your intestine, but you have very similar symptoms as people with celiac disease. So they have to omit gluten from the diet for that reason.
So they're like allergic to it.
Basically.
How many people have this disease? Is it as rampant as we may seem? Like, as a lot of people?
Yeah, it's 1 to 3% of the population. I mean, most people go undiagnosed for 10 to 15 years before, it actually gets discovered, because a lot of the symptoms are not typical and doctors aren't testing, but it's, it's definitely growing for many reasons. But here's the thing. If you're cutting gluten out because you're trying to lose weight, you're probably cutting out that entire food group of grains, which is not what I would recommend. And you probably cut calories, which is why you're losing the weight.
Right.
Cutting out gluten is not necessarily something that's good for your health. You have to do it the right way, just like anything.
Sure.
So it is definitely not something we recommend for weight loss.
Just to start for a weight loss program. I mean, if you have a condition that you feel like you need to seek expert
medical
advice,
help,
medical
for
help.
sure.
You need, in some cases, a registered dietitian
Absolutely.
to help you understand what you need to be eating. But just to throw it all in, this is a healthy, because one of the things when I was doing a little research for our show today, so many people think that if they just go gluten-free, they're going to lose weight, and the opposite can be true.
Sometimes, if you go gluten-free and you start choosing all of those fun things they have on the shelf that are gluten-free, they have cakes and cookies and candies, and they've made everything that had gluten-free now and still somewhat tastes good. You're going to overeat all those things. It's a calorie again, and here you go, ingesting. They actually put more carbs in a lot of those things too. So,
if they take out one thing, they probably put another in.
Yeah. Again,
we're coming back to balance.
Yes.
And it's a mindset. It's that balance. It's the mindset that you're not gonna overindulge. You're going to just have a balanced life. And it's much easier than going on a strict diet.
All or nothing. I mean, if people could just you're right, get that mindset, they're going to go into their diet or their weight loss as more of an overall approach and not oh gosh, I got to do this. I got to cut all this out.
I can't have that. My favorite thing.
It's never going to work.
Yeah.
It's never going to work. So you have to have a good attitude about it.
You know what? There's nothing that I say I absolutely can't have. There's nothing that I would say I can't have that. Because if I say that, then I'm going to run for it.
Exactly.
Now, there are things that are trigger foods for me. Donuts, for example. Right. Donuts are a trigger food for me. I've found that if I eat a donut, it starts this cycle. It's something about the donuts. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I love them so much. Maybe it's because I ate so many when I was a kid, when I was overweight. It might bring back happy memories that I can't remember.
Everybody has their trigger foods.
I don't know why, but donuts cause me to just go crazy. So I avoid them at all costs. I still don't say I cannot have one.
You just know it might.
I choose not to and I avoid them. You know, I usually, if they're available, I usually say no, thank you.
Right.
Not because I don't want one, but because I understand what happens after that, and then it's not worth it.
And you know, a lot of my patients do the out of sight, out of mind. So let me get this out of the house, then I'm less likely to eat it.
Right.
So if I do want it, I might go seek it out versus having it readily available.
Don't have
right
it
there.
in your house.
Yeah, I mean, techniques work for different people. You know, so.
Yeah, that's true, because sometimes it might work better for you to know you have it in case you want it.
Right.
And then I guess it depends on your personality, and that's where we're talking about just trying to find that balance. Okay, there's this whole big thing on ketones and ketosis, and, you know, it's always been, in my opinion, and it really would be an opinion, because I don't understand it from an education point of view. I don't wholeheartedly understand it, but it's an extreme thing, and I do know from research that ketosis can be a dangerous state for a long period of time.
Definitely.
So what's your opinion on this?
I would say that's probably the latest fad that's come out is this ketogenic diet. It's very restrictive in carbohydrates, again, which we've talked a little bit about today, that we still need those. It burns fat for fuel instead of glucose, which comes from carbohydrates, which is when you cut the carbs, the only place to go to for burning fuel.
Which is why you start to lose weight pretty quickly right up front.
Right. And it's because it's so extreme and you're cutting out major food groups. You know, you think carbs are in grains and they're in fruits and they're in milk. You're cutting out almost 3 food groups in some aspects. Then it's not sustainable. You know, I already mentioned, anybody can lose weight with a diet, but what are you going to do to sustain it? And this is something that can put you in a dangerous state because your brain functions off of the fuel from glucose, and if you don't have, you know, carbohydrates, it's tough, you know.
Right.
I have had patients that this definitely has worked for, but then I don't see them able to sustain it for very long. Now, there is evidence on the ketogenic diet for epilepsy, but I wouldn't recommend it for anybody else because it's being medically supervised for them. And so these people are coming out of their seizure states, and it's beneficial in that aspect. But for weight loss, it's just another fad.
Yeah. And what we want to get the biggest point we got to get across here is it's not about a fad diet. It's about the balance.
It's about a lifestyle. It's really a lifestyle.
You can lose the weight, but if you don't keep it off, you know how many times someone said to me, "Oh, I do that diet because it works." And I'm like, "How many times have you done it?" "Oh, I've done it like 5 times, and every time it works."
And how long did you sustain that?
You're having to keep going back to that diet because you're not keeping the weight off. It doesn't work. If you don't lose the weight and keep it off for years, forever, it did not work. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
It's not working. So stop trying to convince yourself that just because you're going on a fad diet and you can lose 20 pounds that it works.
Right.
It doesn't work if you gain the weight back.
And a lot of times people are gaining more back than what they lost.
Yes.
So.
And you're back to homeostasis. You're messing your body up big time and doing yourself more damage.
The quick weight loss produces loss of muscle mass too. Yeah. And that lean muscle mass is what helps us burn more calories. So we don't want to lose it.
Oh my goodness. Ashley, you got to come back. Okay. I mean, I'm not even sure if we're still live or over on time, but it's been awesome. Thank you so much.
You.
I feel like I've learned a ton. I hope you have. Again, be sure to show us some love. Post some comments. Ask some questions if you're not sure. We'll make sure we get the answers from Ashley. And thanks again for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Yep. I never know when it goes down to 0. It's like, does it...
PeoriaLife.com.